The legends rarely tell the same story twice. This is just one of them. Before death arrives, before the final breath, before anyone knows, there is a sound. Not footsteps, not a warning, not a voice calling your name. Something else, something older. A cry, a sound that does not belong to the living. And in the silence of the night, when that sound is heard, someone is going to die. They call her the Banshee. Long before modern cities, before lights erased the darkness of the night, before the world became loud enough to drown out silence, Ireland was different. Quieter, darker, closer to something unseen. The land was not just land, it was memory, it was burial, it was something layered, with the living above and something else below. Across the countryside, there are hills, small, unremarkable, almost forgotten, but they are not natural. They are ancient burial mounds, doorways, entrances to something beneath the earth. The Irish called them she, and from those places, something watches, something listens, something that does not belong entirely to this world. Her name, Banshee, the woman of the mound, the woman of the otherworld, the Banshee. She is not like other spirits. She does not haunt places. She does not wander aimlessly. She does not seek victims. She waits. And when she appears, it is never random. It is never without reason. It is never without meaning. Because the Banshee does not bring death, she announces it. And that makes her something far more disturbing, because death is already coming. Before anyone knows, before anything can be done, before the first sign, she is already there, watching, waiting, listening, for the moment when a life is about to end. And then she cries. It happens at night, almost always, when the world is quiet enough to hear what should not be heard. A sound breaks the silence. At first, it does not make sense. Not an animal, not wind, not anything familiar. A wail, long, rising, falling, twisting, like grief itself has taken form. Some say it is unbearable, a scream so sharp it cuts through the air, so piercing it can shatter glass. Others say it is something else, something softer, a sorrowful song, almost beautiful, not a scream, but a lament, a mourning before the death has even happened. This sound has a name, keening. Long before the Banshee, humans made this sound. In ancient Ireland, when someone died, women would gather, and they would cry. Not quietly, not restrained. They would wail, sing, break their voices against the weight of loss. A sound of grief that could not be contained. A sound that was not meant to be understood, only felt. And over time, those voices faded. The ritual disappeared. The mourners were silenced. The world changed. But something remained. The sound did not disappear. It became something else. The Banshee. She appears when death is near, not inside the house, not beside the dying, but outside, at the edges, at the window, by the trees, on the boundary between safety and darkness. She does not enter. She does not need to, because what she announces cannot be stopped. Sometimes she is seen. Most of the time, she is not. But when she is, her form is never certain. A young woman, beautiful, silent until she cries. Or an old figure, bent, small, almost inhuman. Sometimes no taller than a child, sometimes tall enough to feel wrong. Her eyes, always the same. Red, not with rage, not with hatred, but with something else. Endless grief. As if she has witnessed too many deaths to ever stop mourning. She wears grey, or white, or something like a burial cloth. And sometimes she is doing something unexpected, something calm, something almost human. She is combing her hair, again and again and again. A quiet ritual, repetitive, endless. But in the stories, this matters, because the comb belongs to her. And if someone takes it, they will learn what fear truly is. There are stories of those who tried, finding the comb, taking it, keeping it, and then the sound begins. Closer than before, louder than before, not distant, not far away, right outside. The walls begin to tremble, the air becomes heavy, the sound fills everything, until there is no escape, until there is only one choice left, to give it back. And when it is returned, she disappears. But the fear remains, because she was real, and she was there. But the Banshee is not alone. She is not random. She is not for everyone. She is tied to blood, to families, ancient ones, names that have existed for centuries. The old Irish lineages, the ones connected to the land itself. Some say each family has its own Banshee, a presence that follows them, that listens, that waits, that knows when one of them is about to die. And when that moment comes, she appears. Sometimes more than one appears, and when that happens, it means something else. Not just death, but importance, power, a life that mattered, a loss that will be felt beyond a single home. But this raises a question. What is she? A fairy, a spirit, a ghost, or something older that does not fit into any of those? Some believe she was once human, a woman who died in grief, in pain, in something that never ended, and that grief remained. Others say she is one of the Ios Si, the beings that lived before humans, the ones who were pushed beneath the earth, the ones who never truly left. And then there is another idea, a quieter one, a more disturbing one, that she is not separate from us at all, that her cry comes from something human. Because grief has always existed, loss has always existed, and the need to express it has always existed. So what if the Banshee is not a creature? What if she is something that was created by mourning itself? A voice given form, a sound that refused to disappear. Because the Banshee does not celebrate death, she does not cause it, she does not control it. She mourns it before it happens. Which means somewhere between life and death there is a moment where something already knows, a moment where something already grieves. And if that is true, then death is never sudden. It is seen, it is known, and it is heard before it arrives. And that sound has a name: the Banshee. So if you ever find yourself awake at night, in complete silence, and you hear something that should not be there, a cry rising from the darkness, do not look for it, do not follow it, and do not assume it is meant for you, because somewhere, someone has already been chosen, and somewhere, a life is already ending, and she is already mourning it. This is Voices of Mimir, and this was the voice that comes before death.